What other areas can you take this into? Like you have the medical field, you have meat, you have coffee. Are there other areas that you're looking at where you want to bring this technology?
So the simple answer is to ask you what is on this planet built from cells. And once you start to think about it, you understand that a lot. But we need to be like focused and to do one by one. Obviously, therapeutics and pharmaceuticals, that's a big wave that is coming. Regeneration, healing.
Yaky, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're the CEO of Pluri, and tell us about that. That's a biotech company specializing particularly in 3D cell technology, which is fascinating. Tell us what all that means and how you became the CEO.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to this discussion. So for me, as becoming a CEO and as I actually came to biotech industry, it's a little bit funny story. I came to this industry because of a graph, which I don't think that happens too much in the life, but I came to the biotech industry because of one graph that showed a change in life expectancy. I saw this graph 20 years ago, which basically said, well, humanity, you have doubled your life expectancy in the last 150 years, like doubled. And I said, oh gosh, that can't be. And I took a deeper look into that and understanding after a good investigation that that's the place where I want to be. Biotechnology, life science, creating a better future for all of us. And the way that I'm doing it in Pluri and the way that we do it is using cells. We are using different cell types to create products that all of us need, from healthcare, food security, and more. And that's quite a fascinating industry and company that I have. And I feel blessed to work in this industry and to what we do.
Yeah, what is it? What do you mean by cell? What is 3D cell technology? Give us a breakdown of that.
So 3D technology is a way or a technology to grow cells. And let's go like one step earlier in the process. The one thing that I know and really is it's very obvious, but it's still shocking. Cells are the building blocks of life. Everything on this planet is built from cells. You are built from cells, I'm built from cells, but also our food, pets, whales, bacteria, every organism on this planet is built from cells. And once I realized that, I felt like in the movie Matrix, that you start to see the Matrix and you see it breaking down. And what I'm doing since I got this understanding, it was almost 2 decades ago, that we are creating product out of this tiny organism. The most important one, and this is what brought me to the industry, is how we create new ways to treat human beings in order to allow ourselves to age gracefully and to be able to continue to treat our elderly and the patient. You are based in the US, I'm sure you see the healthcare spending, and that's going all over the Western world. And I understood that we need to find new ways to treat human beings and to reset our healthcare system. Basically moving or doing the transition from sicker system that we have today to healthcare system. And I think that cells, in my opinion, are the most amazing and potent agent in order to regenerate our body. From the simple reason that our body is built from cells. So let's treat it with healthy cells to create regeneration and not hospitalization and not as extremely invasive treatments that we are using today. We are holding a very dedicated and smart system, our body, in respect and with the right agent. And since then, I've become like a great believer in sales and the ability to create different products out of them.
So tell you recently did something like this cell-based coffee production where you reduce water usage by 98%. Give us a sense for that accomplishment. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So Pluri, we are based in Israel, headquartered here, a very technological company, about 130 employees, and we have more than one patents for every employee, so like 140 patents in the company, very strong technology platform. And the way that we operate is by creating a kind of collaborative network of companies that all of them rely on our platform, but operate as a standalone unit. We always going to use the same platform, the three-dimensional expansion platform that can expand sales in a very effective way. And we are actually seeking for places that there is a need, that we see that there is a need for mass scale production. And by identifying the need, we are always going to operate in the same manner. We identify the need, we're finding a collaborative partner that know how to go to go to market, and we going to open an activity that's going to be solely focused in this one industry. This is a strategy that we started to implement 3 years ago, and we were able to do it quite effectively, creating companies for different applications. One of the most interesting industries that we operate today is around our subsidiary that we call it Coffee Side. I actually got a call from one of the largest coffee companies in the world a few years ago, about 18 months ago. And they tell me, hey, Yaky, we are following your technology. And we're seeing your IP, and we're seeing that you are actually expert in cell expansion. Can you do cultivated coffee? And I literally started to laugh on the Zoom. I told him, well, why the hell do you need cultivated coffee? What's wrong with the nice green plant? And they said, yeah, in like 20 years, we're going to lose half of the global production of coffee because of changing climate. We already see the phenomena, and that's going to come big time. And I love coffee. And I said, okay, we're not going to let it happen. And we did a POC, a proof of concept, to see if we can use the same method that we are growing placenta cells for therapeutics, or we are using animal cells. We have also a company in cultivated meat that we partner with a few of the largest companies in the world. We said, can we grow the same thing on plant? So taking a biopsy from a coffee plant once, and using then our machine, this bioreactor system that can grow cells very effectively in order to create coffee on high scale, but not correlated to weather, rain or whatnot. And we did it. I mean, we're able to show that we can grow scale on mass, and we build this beautiful coffee side, beautiful company Coffee Side, that will operate around coffee as well as cocoa. Because whatever I told you about coffee, same thing about cocoa. We are not maybe fully aware to it, but you can see it on the prices. Coffee price went like 5 times high in the last 5 years. So the prices are going through the roof because the change of climate, it creates less production. It means that you're going to pay more. And it means that humanity probably need to find new ways to produce what we used to take from other land. But today it's a little bit more difficult with the number of people that we have and the massive changing climate that we currently witness. So that's my life. Quite, quite interesting.
What is it? We talked a little bit about this before we started, but what has it been like to be based in Israel during all of this?
I was born and live in Israel. Other than like 5 years that I lived abroad, I like the land. I breathe better when I'm here in Israel. I feel so. This is for me like my homeland, and I'm going to do everything for this country. Obviously, we are not in an easy situation in the last year and a month. But Israel, all the Israelis are actually revealing in their best. Because from one end, we are facing severe conditions on our borders. Israel is a nation of creation, of innovation, of providing wealth, health, and prosperity to this world. We see that as our mission. Unfortunately, not always the case with our neighbors. But from one hand, we are facing this severe situation on our borders, but Israelis today are at their best. So I speak a lot with my friends, CEOs, and it means that we just need to be more stronger, resilient, smart, and devoted to our mission. And I can tell you that not me and none of my friends missed a deadline or didn't deliver a project or ask for anything because we are here to do it. We are here to deliver, and we're going to do it. Things will get better, and Israel will prosper. It's a unique nation and unique human beings that live here, and I am very optimistic of how the coming few months are going to look like. And especially, I believe that once this war will end, it's going to be quite amazing, the prosperity that's going to kick back. But as you can see, I like this country.
What does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day, as much a typical day can look like for a CEO, but I wake up very early in the morning. I'm like 5 a.m. I'm already up. And I'm a big believer in routines. So I build my routines. There are days that I'm here in Israel, and there are days that I'm traveling, which are a little bit different in the way that it looks like. So I'm kind of a scheduled human being. So I'm planning my week. I know how it looks like. I'm coming early in the morning. I'm doing my morning prayers that give me starting the morning in a good position, doing my sports, which give me a lot of energy to my body. And I'm going to the office relatively early. I like to have this quiet hour before I start, and I build my routine. So every week I have the management team that people know that all of us coming and doing what I need to do. I'm meeting my staff on a regular basis, Sunday and Monday. So before the US market are waking up, for me it's like Monday afternoon. I'm actually done with the internal meetings and then I'm going for the external meetings. I'm starting early. I do work relatively until late. Coming back to the family. Three lovely daughters. Not all of them already, some of them left the house, but this is how it looks like.
I love that. Tell me about cultivated meat.
Cultivated meat is something that we're seeing in the last decade. I think that we understood as human beings, we need to be a little bit more kind to the motherland, to Earth. We cannot abuse it the way that we abuse it today. Of course, animals and whatnot. And people are seeking for solutions. So can we grow or get the same product by manufacturing it differently? That's the main concept. I'm in the bioreactor field for 2 decades. So for me, when I'm seeing a cow or a chicken, I see them as a bioreactor, like our bioreactors, but this is like God-made bioreactor or whatnot. So they are actually growing cells. This is the one method to grow cells in a very effective way that nature created. But we can grow the same systems, or we can go under the same concept by using not a bioreactor that we call it a cow, but a real bioreactor built from stainless steel that we're going to control the environment. And what we are doing, we're taking a biopsy from an animal, any animal that we are actually, and we can proliferate these cells, grow the cells, expand the cells using in our system. The key thing, and this is one of the main advantages that we have, is the ability to have a full control of the production. So you need to control many parameters in order to get the cells to proliferate in a perfect way. And that's the deep science into it, to understand what we need. I can tell you, Clint, since I'm in this business, I have a high appreciation to human body and to anybody. It's an amazing control system. I'm trying to mimic it for 20 years. I'm getting very close. We are getting an excellent outcome. But that's something that will allow us to create things very effectively, significantly reduce the different pollutions. The livestock is very polluted to this planet. Of course, the animal cruelty that we like to reduce, and that will allow us to consume proteins that are made in a different way. It's not going to take the entire market, but I think it's going to be an important segment that will increase more and more in the coming years. And this is what we did in Pluri, creating the technology and the core thing that will allow us to do it in a very effective way, collaborating with the biggest companies in the world to bring these products to market.
It's quite incredible, actually, the science and everything that goes behind that. And you're also doing some stuff with medical applications, is that right? Like you've kind of gotten into the medical field?
This is where we started. This is our assets and where we started. And the concept was around using placenta cells after full delivery, healthy delivery, donated placentas, that we get this donated placenta and we are able to extract young, healthy cells and to expand them in our systems. This is where we started. The logic behind it is that once we introduce these young, potent cells into the patient body, the cells start to interact with the patient body. And based on the signals that they receive from the body, they are responding by secreting a lot of therapeutic proteins that lead to healing and regeneration. We are treating quite a severe disorders, from severe ischemic legs, patients with, obese patients because of obesity, amputation, or diabetes that are in a high risk for leg amputation. We are able to show that if we inject these placenta cells, they allow the patient own body to create new blood vessels, to renew the blood supply into the leg. We are treating patients with a massive muscle trauma, like after hip fracture. We have a very interesting collaboration with the US Department of Defense and NIH. One cell type that we are developing is a countermeasurement against a high level of nuclear radiation with quite extraordinary data. Placenta is a remarkable organ. I'm looking at this organ almost 2 decades, and I cannot be but extremely impressed by the amazing work that the engineer did over there, combining a product which is coming from pregnancy. So it's a good ethical source. So all religions are perfectly okay with placenta. Young potent cells that we can create healing and regeneration. not doing a chronic treatment as we are doing today, basically allow our own body to find or to build the regeneration power as we have once we are young and in good health. So this is like the essence of Pluri. Everything that we are doing is about using cells to provide a better well-being to humanity, from health to food security and eventually sustainability. And I believe these tiny creatures can do really miracles. They are something that we just need to know how to use them smartly.
What other areas can you take this into? Like you have the medical field, you have meat, you have coffee. Are there other areas that you're looking at where you want to bring this technology?
So the simple answer is to ask you, what is on this planet built from cells? And once you start to think about it, you understand that a lot. But we need to be like focused and to do one by one. Obviously, therapeutics and pharmaceuticals, that's a big wave that is coming. Regeneration, healing. And you are based in Utah. I think it's the most, I don't know if you're even aware to it, but for me it was one of the most surprising things that actually recently the state of Utah, they came with a bill that's saying we're going to approve using placenta cells like allogenic. It means that are not autologous, not related to the patients, that coming from external source. We were allowed to use allogenic placenta cells for therapeutics, even without FDA approval, because people want it and people need it. And the state of Utah was the first one in the US to approve it. And we see more and more things like that happen because people want to have access to cells. One of the main things that Pluri can provide is really high quality. All of our development was done under the FDA, so it's the highest quality. We're meeting all the right standards, but this is something that we see it's coming big time. Food security is a big segment. We see it all over the world, mainly after COVID. Many countries saying we need to be self-sustained. We cannot be dependent only on imports, so we like to have our production in place. So food security and sustainability, things like I told you about coffee and cacao, it's because of change of climate. Today we get a lot of attentions around, aging and longevity and well-being in general. I just gave a talk a few weeks ago about why I believe that placenta cells can be quite a remarkable organ or quite a remarkable agent that will allow us. I don't like to do the anti-aging phrase. I like to say we should age, but gracefully. So I don't mind aging as long as it's in a graceful way. And I believe that this is going to be like a main topics that you're going to see Pluri all over, using the big investments that we made into this company and the big knowledge that we have. So the future looks quite exciting, what we can do with cells.
Do you know who Brian Johnson is? This guy who says like his whole goal is like don't die, and he's says he has like the blood work of like a 30-year-old and he's 50. I'm obviously generalizing all of this. What do you think of that? This whole like don't die movement.
I came to this industry because of seeing I told you my graph of aging and longevity. This is the core essence of everything that I do. And actually I think that most of the things that we see today in the globe are related to aging. And what we see on the traffic and what we see on our pension funds and food security, it's all because of the fact that this world is aging. We don't understand it or we don't sense it on a daily basis, but we are in a generation, and we are fortunate to be in such a generation, that it's going to be the first time ever that Homo sapiens society is going to look different, because it's always been a triangle. Many young people, less elderly, very small portion of old people, because people used to die at 60s, 65 or 45. Today it's the first time that it's going to be the opposite. We're not going to have many young people because people don't make kids as used to do in the past. Israel is a good example that we're still making quite a lot of kids, so I urge the world to continue to do it. But we're going to see a lot of aging population, and we need to change the way that we look at it. I don't think that we need to live forever, so I'm more in the quality of life. It's quite an interesting topic, and it's kind of anecdote, but it always makes me laugh when people say, okay, how long we can live? Is it 120? Because this is what Moses lived. Guys today say, okay, we should look at 200 years as our limit. I always invite people to look at, chapter A in Genesis, and to see that the first man, Adam, used to live to 930 years. So maybe this is our biological potential. I don't know. But it's it's going to move up for sure.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be trending that way, no question. How have you, you mentioned like there's been some investments in this company. How have you financed the company? How have you thought about raising money and all of that?
So Pluri is a public company. We are traded under the symbol PLUR, traded on the Nasdaq, with dual listing in Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Biotech and cell development, it's an expensive and risky field. We did substantial fundraising to the company through private and institutional investors, but we are fortunate enough to get also some substantial support from different agencies, starting with the Israel Innovation Authority that gave us quite a lot of funding, Europe Horizon 2020 that gave us about $30 million in funding, and the US government. We have a strong collaboration with the NIH and the Department of Defense, which are funding these radiation projects that we have. I believe that today more and more governments will push towards development of new way to treat human beings. We need to shift from the way that we are treating us today. It's not smart. And I'm one of the one that's saying we should be treated not when we are sick. We should be treated when we are in good health. That's the way to do it. And in my vision, every human being from age 40, 45, we should get once a year treated with this nice, amazing placenta cells to keep us young, potent, and age gracefully. It's doable. I truly believe in it. It's coming slowly, but it's coming.
What do you read? What reading recommendations would you have for us?
I read a lot. I have at any point in time I read almost two books in parallel. So it depends. There are some very good readings that help me as a CEO of a company. Maybe the most interesting book that I read and that I'm using and implementing on my day-to-day work is Measure What Matters. This is by John Doerr. It's an amazing book. And since then, I'm implementing the OKR system in Pluri. I'm very consistent about it, and I think that that's so simple, so right. You need someone just to frame it in the right way, and that's, in my opinion, one of the most amazing books that I read. I do like to read also, like coming from Jewish philosophy and books in Hebrew. This is something that I do like to read about how they are actually implementing in our day-to-day. Now I'm reading an interesting book from Bob Iger that used to be the CEO of Disney. It's a nice book. He's a smart guy. So I do find it's nice to see that you're not alone in your pains. Some of them are actually been through the same thing. It's kind of comforting for me and understand how smart people are actually been through this process. But I also like to read different literature. Depends if I'm on traveling, so it's a lighter book. I'm now reading an interesting book, how we're going to translate it to English, The Weakness Seeker. So it's about a guy that used to be in the Israeli military and was like a genius, computer genius. He knows how to find the weakness in different systems and he works around it. It's kind of more easy, light flight books that I use during traveling. But I love reading.
Finally, we end every interview with the same question, and that is at CEO.com, we believe the chances one gives is just as important as the chances one takes. When you hear that, who gave you a chance to get you to where you are today?
So for me, it's easy. 20 plus years ago, I'm actually a CPA by training. Just fell in love in biotechnology. But I'm coming from financial background. And I was an accountant at Ernst & Young, manager of audit groups, and it's nice. And I got a call from a nice gentleman that his name is Zami Aberman, which he was the CEO of a public company. I was like fresh in the office. I was like 3 years, and we met. And he told me, "I want you to be my CFO." When you're young, one of the main things that you have, you're not scared. You're not worried. Of course, of course, I can be CEO of public company. What's the question? And that was like a non-traditional pathway to get to a senior level of management of public company relatively quickly in the process. And Zami, he believed in me as being a very young man, but he thought that I have the capacity that will require to take it there. And we worked together for many years. He's now the chairman of Pluri when I'm the CEO. So he moved to Pluri and I moved, starting as a CFO, COO, and I took the CEO position a few years ago. And that's something that I have high appreciation until today. I do remember how it started. And generally, I'm a guy of long-term relationships, so it's always something. So I do work with people that I love. I like to work for years. This is what's happening in my management team. People are over 10 years easily. I was saying, I met my wife on the 7th grade, so when it's a good thing, I stick to it. So I think it's important that we're going to build a community around us that will allow us to be in our best because they know us.
That's incredible. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. What you're working on is unbelievable. Congratulations on the breakthroughs that you've already experienced. I think what you're working on is, world transforming. So thank you
Thank
so
you very
much for what
much.
you do. And I'm sure we'll be in touch. And please stay safe out there.
Thank you very much. We will. Thank you very much, Clint, for your time.